And when you look at the residential schooling system, one of the methods cultural genocide took place was that they did not allow these young kindergarten going or even younger indigenous students to speak their indigenous language.
That's right.
So that was stripped away from them. And when we speak to them, they're like, hey, listen, we're trying to reconnect with our culture because cultural genocide was done upon us. We're trying to reconnect it, and they're trying hard to learn it. And they got schools and classes and systems in place in order to protect the language. And it was at that moment it kind of clicked in that, you know what, our parents allowed us to at least know the language. I remember until I was in grade 8 at home, within the 4 boundaries of our house, we were not allowed to speak any other language except for Urdu.
That's right.
However, as now, the language that I speak to my parents in is not Urdu. It is English, right? And my children are speaking English. So, but I try to introduce them as much as possible, and I want them to have some sort of linguistic connection to the Arabic language and also the Urdu language, so that if years down the line, right, when they are, let's say, in university or maybe, you know, young professional, they're like, hey, listen, I really want to tap into my roots and I want to be able to speak the language. It won't take them long to really understand the language and be able to read it. So despite not having any training or any formal training, so to speak, I can somewhat read the Urdu language. I can speak and communicate in it. I don't have a ability to litigate in that language, but at least I can understand it and connect with folks and what have you.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been trying to do that with my children as well. I put my daughter in Urdu school. She took several classes. She actually learned quite a bit to be able to speak. It's just been, like you said, challenging to speak at home. We're very English speaking, even at home. With my parents, it's a combination of both English and Urdu. But especially with grandparents, it's even more Urdu. So I've been able to speak very well for childhood and until now. And so when I got married to my wife, her family, they speak English mostly pretty much, and even for her it was like that. It was a bit of a challenge. She had to kind of pick it up again. She knew how to speak, but she wasn't quite as fluid as she is now. But I think it's important. I think at least to have the children, they should be able to understand the language and maybe even start to say some sentences. So if a moment comes where they have to kind of start to learn how to speak, they can quickly build off and they have the foundation there already. But I found it concerning how much of that are we supposed to try to keep as the generations keep growing here, and you know, my grandkids and beyond that, how much of the culture are we going to really be able to keep? Is it really important? Even with, for example, food and cuisine, it's seen as maybe not that important. But as I've grown older, I've thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should make sure that our kids are introduced to a lot of the ethnic foods we grew up eating, even though now we've kind of gotten in with a lot of the other cuisines that we're used to here, living in Canada. So it could be Arabic, could be Western, could be Italian, could be Chinese, could be anything else. But is that something you think about and deal with?
Yeah, again, learning from our indigenous brothers and sisters, right? And if, you know, they have taught me the importance of my own language, so to speak. And the other experience that I had was when I went to Thunder Bay. There is a strong cohort of international students, and a lot of them come straight from countries like India or Pakistan, and that is where I essentially learned how to play a bit of cricket, and my Urdu got a bit stronger. And however, when I did speak at home, some of the comments some members of my family made was, it seems like your Urdu is a little more Pakistani now, right? But I just think those kind of experiences and exposure to a multi-ethnic community and so on and so forth kind of help you to appreciate and kind of practice the language. Also traveling, I guess.
That's right.